Nora Speaks is a weekly podcast that tugs at the soul and consciousness of the Black community. With show topics such as youth empowerment, education, women's impact, and civic engagement, Nora Speaks challenges the listener to not only join the movement, but be the movement. On the show, you'll learn from insightful guests who have demonstrated capacity in these fields and more, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Welcome to the show. Welcome to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast, and I'm your host, Nora Muhammad. Thanks you for joining me for this episode of the podcast. I really hope that you enjoyed the last episode with the excerpts from Dr. King's speech, but if not, I really enjoyed it. I thought that those excerpts were inspiring, and I shared those because that's not that was a sermon, actually. You know, we don't hear a variety of Dr. King's deliveries, speeches, sermons. We definitely hear the I Have a Dream speech, and that's the one that we hear the most. However, he has so many different addresses, and I thought that one was particularly powerful, just talking about, standing firm in the face of trial, criticism, hardship. We definitely know that Dr. King stood tall in the face of all of that. And I also shared that episode because I recognize that I didn't know and don't know Dr. King as well as I wish I had, definitely when I was younger. I didn't know or understand how radical he was and how he was maligned by even those who were with him in the civil rights movement, and those other members of clergy and the churches that, he was not allowed in to deliver sermons because he was seen as controversial, anti-American and all of that. And I saw where one person was quoted that Dr. King is essentially presented to us like he's a civil rights mascot. And Dr. King is certainly not a mascot. He was a radical brother who really showed us all the commitment, dedication, tenacity, fortitude in the face of so much. And so I really enjoyed that episode, and I certainly hope that you did as well. In this episode, I am going to be sharing general tips for workplace success. In my line of work, I have the great opportunity to interface and be in touch with people who, really vary in terms of their occupations. I speak with nurses and doctors frequently. I speak with those members who practice law. I speak with people who are direct service providers. I speak with people who are trade school trained, those who have high school diplomas, bachelor's degrees. So I get to speak to a wide variety of people, and I see that in so many of these interactions, there's definitely a lack of professional training that's been provided. And, I said I speak with attorneys, and I, speak with physicians, nurses, and all of us can bear to improve some in our professional skill set. And so I'm not just suggesting that people with only a high school diploma, and that's why I share that I speak with people from so many fields and occupations. And so I want to share some general tips for workplace success that I think could be helpful. I know they could be helpful, rather. And I would like, if those who are interacting with young people, if you yourself are a manager or a parent, a mentor, a guidance counselor, what I'm going to share will certainly be helpful so that we can have success in the workplace. And the challenge for us is when we don't know what we should know. When we don't know what we should know, then we can make errors, and then those errors can become repetitive. And so I thought that I would share this in this episode. And I think it's about 6 tips here that I'm going to share with you. And I would love for you to share this with others who you think would benefit. My first tip is preparation. Whether that's for phone calls, meetings, projects, presentations, we must be prepared. Even if it's just for a phone call, don't dial the number unless you're prepared for the conversation, right? And when you call, be prepared with the who, the what, the where, the why, the how, the when, the where details. I'll give you an example. I received a call in my office one day, and it was a nurse, and she was calling to let me know that an individual who served by my department, I believe this individual had an increase in a specific medication. So I said, well, what is the new dosage? And I was put on hold for about 5 minutes. Now here someone is calling to make a notification, but they didn't have the information that they're supposed to be giving me. I've had people call and say, I'm trying to reach so-and-so. Could you give me their phone number? Could you provide me their email address? And when I begin providing the information, they say, oh, let me get a pen. And I think, well, you called me and you knew what you were calling for. Be prepared. Be prepared. So even if it's that's for meetings, if you're arriving to a meeting, be prepared with the information that's going to help you participate in the meeting. Participate with ease, participate comfortably, even to take a look over the information that you're responsible to share. Be prepared, whatever it is, whether it's a phone call, a phone meeting, a teleconference. Always be prepared. Number 2, we can work on our communication, and that can be emails or voicemails. Leaving emails and voicemails, returning emails and voicemails, working on our verbal skills and our written skills. If you leave a voicemail, speak clearly, enunciate, say your phone number clearly, not rapidly. Sometimes you go to receive a voicemail from someone and they need a call back and they say their phone number as if they're in a race, right? And I think, well, you know your phone number. I don't know it. And you're saying it for me to give you a call back. If I don't understand what you're saying in the call, if you say it too fast, make sure that when we're communicating, we're doing it clearly. Also, if we have received a voicemail, if we've received an email, return the call, respond to the email as quickly as possible so that that's one task that's been put behind us. Then you may have someone calling you over and over again, or emailing you over and over again. Just get that thing out the way and then move on to the next. And regarding emails, it's important to really say or send what's necessary. Only copy who is necessary. Sometimes, in those of us who have to use email often, that reply all, that thing can be a beast. And so now we have an email chain, or you're now included in an email chain that really has nothing to do with you, and you are just seeing this thread and people communicate back and forth, and you're totally not involved. So if you're replying to the email, reply to the people, to the parties that it's relevant to. And then also, always communicate professionally, if that's verbally, if that's written. So be concise and be precise. Be concise, meaning keep it short, right? Say what needs to be said, get in and get out. And then being precise, that means make it accurate. Give the information that is true and factual. So we want to be precise. We want to be concise. And then practice good verbal and written communication. And sometimes we may think that we're a better communicator than we are. It's always helpful to ask someone. Ask someone to look over an email. Ask someone to read a report. Ask someone for their feedback, someone that you trust, someone that you know will give you an honest answer. Let them know that you're working to improve in these areas so that they understand that they should be giving you some real feedback, some accurate feedback. So, practice good written and verbal skills. And if we recognize that we do can use some improvement, go to work on improving in those areas. Don't have shame or embarrassment because we might not speak professionally, because we might not write well. There's always opportunities to learn and grow. And, let's not let pride get in the way of our own self-improvement or our professional development. The third thing that can help us be successful professionally is to have professional courtesies. What do I mean? I mean, keep your word. If you say that you're going to be at a meeting, be there. Be on time and follow through. If you tell someone that you're going to do some research, do the research and share the results with the person that's intended to get that. Sometimes if we don't keep our word, then we find ourselves to be untrustworthy. If we find that we are continuously late, that isn't a good look for us individually. That's not a good look for the companies that we're representing. So keep our words, be on time, and follow through. Number 4, be honest. Be honest. If we drop the ball on something, own it. Be honest. Be honest. Take responsibility, and then just keep it moving. We don't have to belabor the point. We don't have to, engage in any self-loathing or anything like that. But, sometimes we might miss something. Just own it. Take responsibility. I always think that the truth is sufficient. Wow, you sent me that email. I totally overlooked it. I don't know how I missed it. Let me get that information to you now. Right? Sometimes folks will try to cover for their errors using deceit, redirection, redirection of blame. Well, so-and-so didn't do such and such. But look, honesty builds trust. And when people see that you'll take it, you'll say, look, I own this one. My bad. I mean, that really does help cohesion in a workplace. That really can help strengthen partnerships when we can be honest about our own shortcomings. So just be honest. Number five, helping us to be successful in the workplace is having a good attitude. What do I mean by that? Being positive. Have a positive attitude. Sometimes we might have the mindset that things are going to go wrong. And sometimes when we think things are going to go wrong, they'll go wrong. Even if it's a good outcome, we'll find something in it that we will define as negative about it. Keep a positive attitude. And if we do have a pessimistic attitude, if we do have the expectation that things will go wrong, sometimes we'll make it so, the self-fulfilling prophecy. The other thing is avoid taking things personally. Sometimes in a workplace, there can be contention, there can be disagreement, but it doesn't have to be a personal offense because someone disagrees with us. It could just be a different perspective. It could be a different experience. We don't have to take things personally as if someone disagreeing with us is a personal attack. Another thing with our attitudes is we can be empathetic to other people. Sometimes we, really are just, we can be ice cold and we could be unsympathetic to people. Look, sometimes things happen in a person's personal life. Sometimes, they may, have some challenges. It's never good to attack someone in a workplace. Be empathetic. We never know what's going on in somebody else's personal life. And then I'll add, in terms of just, having a good attitude, is we should understand that challenging circumstances are opportunities to test ourselves and to cultivate our skills. Sometimes it takes a real challenge. It could be a difficulty in the workplace, a difficult conversation. Well, maybe you've never had a difficult conversation, and maybe this is the opportunity for you to test yourself, test your ability, and improve. And we can have challenges, all sorts of challenges in a workplace, but think of them as opportunities, and that's putting a positive spin on what could be a very, very difficult experience for us. And it's so important that we try to keep a positive attitude, because when we keep a positive attitude, it helps us be successful, and it kind of orients our thinking about things. When we see challenges as opportunities, we don't think so negatively about what's happening. And then one other thing I want to say about that is, you may have heard the saying, keep the main thing the main thing. Truth is not emotional, and problem solving takes mathematics, not emotionalism. We can get through things if we're less emotional, if we're more pragmatic, if we're thinking logical and not emotional. And then number 6, in helping us to be successful in the workplace, just some general tips. Be organized. Whether that's managing our time, it can be useful to dedicate ourselves to studying or learning some time management techniques so that we can be more successful in this area. If you find that you're not getting something done when others are, and you all have, the same hours in a work day, the same workload, the same training, the same information, and you're not getting it done, it could be a point of time management on your part. And if you are not getting things done, then that really can cause a manager to question how you're spending your work hours. Are you really on task, or are you kind of doing other things? Are you distracted? Do you lack focus in the workplace? So, if we make organization a habit, our efficiency will improve. And so I hope these 6 tips for workplace success sit well with you. I hope that you share them with others. I'll review them very quickly. Preparation, be prepared, whether it's a phone call, a meeting, a teleconference, a presentation, be prepared. Communication, work on our written and verbal communication skills. Be concise and be precise. Number 3, professional courtesy. Keep our word, be on time, and follow through. Number 4, be honest. Be honest. Honesty builds trust. Number 5, attitude. Have a good attitude in the workplace, even when you're not feeling your best. Have a good attitude. And number 6, be organized. I hope this list is helpful to you, helpful to someone that you're mentoring, someone that you're parenting, possibly someone that maybe you're managing. It's so many other things that could be included in this list, but I really do want to respect the time. I want to thank you for listening to this episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Until next time, stay in peace.
We were brought here as a piece of property, and to keep that piece of property, it is to not allow the property to know the value of the property. What I mean by that, if you had known the history of yourself, you would not have been made a slave. And you won't be a slave now if you have a knowledge of yourself. It's hard to enslave a person that have equal knowledge with you. You just can't do it. And so this knowledge of yourself is the thing that will free you from what you have been suffering from.
Thank you for listening to another episode of the Nora Speaks podcast. Be on the lookout for a new episode coming at you fresh next week. And as always, if you want to learn more about me and the work that I do, visit my website, NoraMuhammad.com. Or if you have a listener question, email me at info@noraspeaks.com. You can also follow the Nora Speaks podcast on Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter at Nora Speaks Podcast. I'll be sure to include links in the show notes. If this show has value to you, please subscribe, rate, and review, and share it with family and friends. And be sure to check out previous episodes. And remember, don't just join the movement, be the movement. Stay in peace.